That's true. Yeah, I have hugs. I got a couple hugs for this, you know, when you're both more comfortable.
Daniel, is there any fonts you recommend over like base fonts?
Font awesome.
Well, what I mean is like serif, Arial, sans serif, like.
Oh, no, I don't have any preference. I usually go by the Roboto font from Google. That's the one I've been using a lot. Roboto, Roboto, from Google.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the one I've been using. But you know, for me, mostly it's whatever the corporate direction is. Somebody has already decided, so we just use one.
I just meant for in terms of like standing out on the portfolio.
Yeah, look into Google Roboto font. Kind of like that one. Yeah.
I don't really prefer sample directions, I guess, but that was why I guess for it. I didn't want to put it in effort. Profile. So, right, I'm associating the old one with the but eventually I think I'll really like start to drive it. Yeah, definitely. I really it's another one for some cool stuff.
And then still jump together again. So,
Yeah. It's for these dudes, man.
Yeah. I think all the information that's in the
Yeah. That's like the 51 in there. That's like a good 51 too. So how long is that picture on YouTube?
It's like 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
I just looked at it on Slack and it has your picture in the background.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I was like, I just have
Yeah. I never updated my G Plus profile, so that's why it's coming from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like 8 years ago. It's actually in Seattle.
In Seattle?
Yeah. I went to see a friend over there, huh? So gloomy. I didn't like Seattle. I was like, it's too depressing for me over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Really
that's what I heard. Yeah.
Drugs and drinking.
Yeah. I mean, given they have like Amazon, they have Microsoft over there, now they have Facebook over there.
Mm-hmm.
Still. Yeah.
I just find it relaxing, like the grayness of it.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see what we are going to do today. So today we'll be doing some more activities around Node. Some of the more important topics would be covering NPM. We talked briefly about it. Today we'll go in a little bit more depth and see what NPM is. Then we'll see two packages, two Node packages, and see how we can use them. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of NPM,
Mm-hmm.
on Tuesday we did some kind of code to download something with NPM,
Yes.
and I don't know exactly what it was, but it gave me like 536 things to commit, so I deleted them all.
Yeah, we'll see them.
I wasn't sure
Yep.
if I should have deleted them.
You did the right thing. I will talk about that 536 packages. Two Node modules we are going to look at it. One is called Inquirer, and the second one is called, I think, Inspect process. Okay. So a disclaimer: when we look at packages for Node, there are like a lot of packages, and when you guys are working, you guys will be exposed to some of them. Some of them won't be. You won't ever know about those things, right? So the two packages that we're going to look today, you and I are on the same page. I have never used any one of them. But those are in the example. Those are just to show you that, okay, these are there, how to use them. And we're going to go through the documentation, try to learn those modules together. The reason these are included in today's lecture is because they're going to help you in your homework, which reminds me that I need to talk about your homework at the end of the class for next week. Okay. What else? And then we are going to talk about something called package.json. We'll talk about that as well at the end of the class. Okay. And this will wrap up the Node lecture. And we'll be looking at something different from Saturday, a different topic. But this, by the end of today, you guys should have a pretty good I would hope knowledge, but this would kind of let you go ahead and create Node applications, basically, for what we are. We'll visit Node back in like 2 or 3 weeks from now when we are looking into databases, and we'll see how everything comes together. All right. Jason was talking about study groups. I want to stress, if you guys are not doing it, these are kind of a little bit difficult topics now. Node, we are going to look at databases, SQL, then we're going to jump into React.js or React. So it's kind of getting difficult. So if you guys, if there's some confusion, try to get into a study group, revise those topic activities will help you get there. So, try to repeat those activities as much as you can until you understand and you get comfortable with it. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start with the first one. We'll do as a group activity. It's supposed to be given to you guys, but we'll do it together. It's kind of like a refresher from the last class. So let's go ahead and do this together. So what it says is, let me make it nicer. All right. So we are going to, starting from a blank file, create a Node.js. Let me make it a bit bigger. node-based command line application that takes in a series of numbers from the users and returns a number sorted in ascending order. Okay, it's not too complicated, not too easy also though. Right, so okay, let me go ahead and just verify. Eric, you were asking what version, so I'm on 8.94.
Yeah,
But I haven't updated it, but I don't think for the activities that we are doing in class, it should pose any
8.12 is
problem.
fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. I don't think there should be any issues. Okay.
I kept hearing if you went beyond that, you'd be asking for trouble.
Well, beyond that, if you look at their website, they have two versions. One is called LTS. I think it stands for long-term stability or support. This means that they have tested it out, looks good. But for the more braver souls, they have a version that they are currently working on. They have released it, but it's not like, they are expecting some bugs in it, and they call it the current version. So for those are for people who want to jump on the newer stuff and, kind of help them try to find issues with them and report them. So those are for those people, yeah. You wouldn't generally use it for like a production application because it might break, because even they are saying, okay, we know there are some issues, you guys help us figure out those issues. So that's the other version for it. But for our case, I think it should be okay. All right, so the first thing, we are going to get a user input, right? We are going to read a series of numbers. So we are going to keep it simple. We'll say these are all numbers, so integers. All right, so like 3, 7, 1, 10, 15, 12, something like this. Okay, so the first thing when we are reading input from the user from the command line terminal is process.argv. Process.argv. Okay, and I asked George, I think. George, what was the data type for process.argv? The data type?
String.
Nope.
Oh, sorry.
It's an array. Yep, exactly. So argv is an array. It gives you an array. We don't bother with the first two index, 0 and 1, right? 0 has the location of where your node is installed, and 1 is the context where your file is. All right. So what we are interested in is everything after that. So let me create a array. So in the previous example, we've seen we are using the index. We say square bracket, then 0, 1, 2, and read it, right? In this one, if I just say process.argv, what does it mean? What am I storing in my num array? Right.
Process array? The arguments array?
Yeah, it's just an array. So I'm just storing the whole array. All right. So whatever the user types in, it comes to my array. Now I want to sort this out, right? So I can loop through this array, right? So I will say for int I is, oh, no int. That's my Java coming out. Var I is equal to 0. I is less than num array dot length I plus plus. Okay, I'm going to change this. It's let me say arg array, because it's not totally number array, and the reason is the first two index are basically strings. So I'm looping through all the arguments that are coming to me from the terminal, right? So this will read all the arguments starting from 0, but we are not interested in 0 and 1, right? So we can skip those. So to skip, what I can do is I can just start from the index number 2. All right? Again, index number 0 and 1, we are not interested because those are just the paths, so we want to skip them. So what we do is we start from the index number 2. Okay? Any questions or confusion so far? Okay. So if I start from 2, let me declare another array called num array. I'm going to say it's going to be an array, and then I'm going to store all the numbers that are coming from the terminal. Okay. So how do I store anything in an array? Dot push. Yep, awesome. So my dot push method basically pushes an element into my array. Okay. Now I'm trying to store numbers, so I can just use a parse int method and then parse those input numbers, right? I can say, oh, it's arg array and I. Okay, all right. So at this point, my number array is going to have all the numbers that the user is going to input through the terminal. And let's test this out till here until we do the sort, and I'll output my num array. All right. So let's see. Let me go into 20. Okay. Okay. So I'll say node. Oh, I haven't entered anything. So let me enter 1, 2, 3, 4, and there you go. Okay. So till now, I'm just taking an input and just doing a console log so I can verify that I'm getting all the numbers correctly. Okay, simple. Now we need to do a sort. We need to sort this array. That was the purpose. Let me do 4, 3, oops, so that you guys can see it's not sorted. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, at this point it's not sorting in ascending order. So let's see, sort array in JavaScript. Let's take a look at this one. We have used this before, but just to verify. Okay, so it says sort method sorts an array, but sorts in the string. So if you pass in a string, that's what it will sort. If I say over here in this example, looks like it has banana, orange, apple, mango. If I say fruits dot sort, it will sort them out. Okay. But if I go down, it says the numeric sort is a little bit more complicated. Right? It doesn't sort the way it is supposed to. Like if I say num array dot sort, it's not going to sort the way it is sorting this one. I need to do something more, something extra. All right, what do I need to do? It's saying that it will produce incorrect value, so I need to use a compare function. Okay, so it says if this is my array, I say array dot sort, and then I do this thing. Let me just copy this and put this here, but points is my num array. Okay, and because this should work, let's find out. So I just copy pasted from there what the site was saying. Haven't done any changes, just change my array. Then Oh, there you go. The first one, unsorted or not sorted in ascending order. And I use this method over here, which the site was saying it sorts it. Okay. Any questions other than the sort method? The sort method, I mean, it's this is the way the sorting in JavaScript works. If you are doing the numbers, so you just have to follow the syntax. This kind of complicated, it's fine. What it is doing is it's basically it has a callback function. It takes into parameters which are the numbers that you're trying to sort, and a minus b basically is saying sorted in ascending order. But this is how you sort it. The more important is how we are getting those numbers, how we are processing them, and then outputting them. Okay. Any questions? So this was kind of like a refresher before we jump into the little bit more complicated activities. Yes.
Would that have been an easier sort method than the bubble sort?
So I'm not sure what JavaScript sort is using. They're probably not using bubble sort. So if you use the sorting methods that the programming language comes in, usually at the behind the scenes they're using some little more sophisticated algorithm, maybe like a binary sort or something, because these things, the expectation is it's going to sort more efficiently. You can use bubble sort, you can write the whole algorithm in JavaScript and use it, but probably the one that they're using behind the scenes is more efficient than bubble sort. You have a smile on your face, well. You're going to write the bubbles. Huh?
It's not about sort.
It's not about the sort, okay. Yes, Sandra.
Should there be a difference in the log between the first console log and the second log?
Yes, the first one is unsorted, and then you sort it, so the second one would be the sorted. So it should be a difference, yes. So if you see my console over here, the first one is not ascendingly sorted. The second one is going to be the sorted.
Did you type it before we got it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions before we move on? Good. Okay. Not too complicated exercise. Now let's go back and see the request one. So this is the exercise that we did yesterday. It's an exact replica what you guys wrote yesterday. We were using a package over here, which was the. Is this still visible? Is this okay? Good. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I'll push it. So this is the same code that we saw on Tuesday. We were using a request. We were making HTTP GET request to ONDB API, getting the data, and then doing an output on it. All right. So let's see. Corey, the first line number 3. What's going on in line number 3?
It's basically saying that.
Oh, sorry.
It's basically finding the request level variable is like a required part of it.
Uh-huh.
So you need the request to be able to basically go through.
We need the request to be?
Mm-hmm.
What was the last part? We need the request to be? You were saying something?
No, you just need the request. You require, like, the variable to exist requires the
Okay.
request.
So what is this request in quotes? API call? API call is this one. This is the API call. But the one in the quotes. Go. Gabriel? That's why you don't stream from
Whoa! I was paying attention. Open up the
Yeah, that's good. So, so he's right. You know, we need the required variable and we're assigning it to it. But my specific question is, what is this thing? Request in double quotes.
It's like a package that allows you
Yes.
to process API.
Yep.
Request.
Exactly. So the request in double quotes is the package, and the package is called request. We'll see in some other examples some different packages that we are using. Before you begin using, so streaming worked. So so every time we use a package, we will put the package name over here. This variable name, it can be anything. Could be R, request, request 1, request 2, it doesn't matter. What important is this thing. This thing should exactly match whatever the documentation of that node package is saying. So for request, it says it should be request, so that's why we have request over here. Okay? This is the most important part if you're using some other node packages. All right. After that, this thing, again, we looked at the documentation. They were saying, hey, if you use a request method, it's going to do a HTTP GET request, and the first argument would be the URL, and that's how I have the URL over here. The second is the callback function. Okay. Now this callback function has 3 arguments inside it. Mia, do you have any idea what each of these mean? Error, response, and body.
It's checking if there is error.
Okay.
And then try to access to API.
Okay. What about response? What does the response variable do?
Not sure. Check who is down, who is working.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one, body.
What is that?
Information. Yeah. Okay.
Chasing.
Yep. Excellent. So error argument will have, if there is any error, then this variable is going to have that information. All right. It will be a message saying something bad happened. I couldn't complete this request. All the error should be here. If there's no error, this will be empty. And this is the reason we check for this before we proceed. We say, hey, if this error variable is empty or not, then do something. Okay. Now my response is going to have some information related to the response that I'm getting back. What the response usually has is, what we are interested is the status code. So status code is something that has been standardized and defined. These are predefined status code. 200 definitely means that the request was successful. All right. So this is the reason we are checking for 200. Then there's requests which start from 400. 400 means a bad request. Something happened. The request, the arguments that you're passing to the API were not valid, so they will throw a 400. 404 means not found. So you made a request, it was good, but the API was not able to find what you're looking for. Yes.
So specifically in that order for the request function, like it just recognizes that whatever variable you pass in
Yes.
the parameter is going to be the first one's here. the second
Exactly.
one.
Yep. I could
Doesn't matter
switch.
what you call it.
No, yeah, I could make this as a response and the second one as error. So what do you think will happen now?
So the one that says response is actually the error.
Actually the error. It doesn't matter what you name it. It will always put the error in the first one. Okay? Of course, if you want to confuse somebody, you can do that and be like, hey, they're checking, hey, if response is not equal to yeah. So yeah, so the first is always errors, response, and then body. The last one, body, has all the data that you're looking for. So body will have your JSON response. So when you search for a movie, it comes in the body, and then it has all this stuff. But the thing over here is, we were looking previously some APIs they were sending as a JSON response. When we are using this, it comes back as a string. Right, it's double quotes. You cannot actually use, say, body.imdb rating and expect that it will return you what you're looking for. So that's why we have JSON.parse, the JavaScript method over here. We have to parse it into, bring it into a JSON format, and then use it to find the IMDb rating. Okay, just be careful about it. It's kind of, I wouldn't say trial and error, but if you just say body.imdb rating and you get an error, then you might want to look into it and see if it actually is a JSON object or they are just returning you a string. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and run this. This is 21. Okay. So I will say node, and then this is called. We saw this error. Dylan, do you recognize this error from yesterday? Cannot find module request.
Is it because it's on the right? Is it because you want to sign download?
Yes, exactly. So the problem over here is not downloaded. I haven't done a npm install, and that's why it's coming with this error. So yeah.
The npm is one time only, right? If we're good, or do we have to do it?
Node is one time. npm is something different.
Okay.
So that's what we will talk about.
You can install globally if you wanted to,
But that's not going to work over here.
okay.
So you're right. Kind of getting ahead of myself, but should I show or not? So what do you usually do? Let me come back. So the problem over here is we understand that the module or the package is missing, and that's why it's saying it cannot find the request module. Okay. Now what we do is we do npm install request. We saw this, right? And this will install the module. Okay. Now this is very important. Now what is going on over here? So what's the difference between node and what is npm? So npm stands for node package manager. Okay. Now yesterday I was saying what is node? Node is kind of environment, right? It's not like a library. It's not like a JS library or something. It has a lot more than that. So think of Node as, like Microsoft Windows. On your laptop, let's suppose you have Windows. It's kind of like, it's an operating system, but it's kind of environment. And then it has a lot of programs inside it. Okay. Now in Windows, if I like a program, I want to go ahead and install it, right? Before I use it. So what would I do? I would download it. Then when it downloads it, I will double click it. It goes through a wizard. I install it, right? So Node is similar to that. Right, so Node is an environment, and if I like some package, if I like some software, in Node terms we'll call it package, which is basically software that you call in Windows. So if I like a package, I have to go ahead and install it in Node. Okay. Okay. Now in Windows, I double click it, installs it. It's kind of similar. The only thing is Node doesn't have a UI and all that stuff. So I have to, instead of that, I have to write some commands to install the package or the software. But the concept is same.
So this is where I was doing a little reading on Node and got super confused.
Mm-hmm.
With all the different packages and things you have available,
Right.
you're certainly not going to install all of them.
No. Not all
You're
of
going to
them.
install what you need
Exactly.
from time to time.
Right.
Does it stay resident on your computer, or do you uninstall it when you're done?
No, it keeps on your computer until you uninstall it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll see what that is. But the concept is same, right?
Right.
If you want, you only download and install the software that you need, right? You don't install every possible software that's out there for Windows, right? Similarly over Node. Now over here, I want to use the request package, so I'm only going to install the request package.
Gotcha.
And that's where npm comes in places. Instead of double clicking a software or Windows on Node, what you have to do is you have to say npm install and then the package name. Okay, this is the way you install any package that you require, any software that you want to use it in the Node environment.
And there's some website that lists all the different packages.
Yep, we'll look at that website in a minute. Yep, there's a website, there's a whole website. They have like, I don't know, many packages, softwares that you can use. There's some of them have good documentation, some have really bad documentation or no documentation at all. Just need to find which one you're looking for. Okay. Any questions on this before we look at the website and more stuff? Okay. Now there's a concept for local install and global install. It's kind of confusing. The word it says global kind of throws people off that, oh, global probably means if I do a global install, it's available for me forever or something on any packages. It's kind of a little bit different. Okay, so when you do npm install, oh, before I do, if you want to uninstall a package, it's npm uninstall package. Yeah, npm install, npm install. Okay, now by default, when you do npm install package, it will install your package locally. What I mean is when I run npm install request, the scope is of request package is going to be my program, whatever that folder my program is in. Okay, and by default, this is how you do the local install, and most of the time you will be doing this. Okay, the other way is global install, which would be npm install -g and then the package name. Okay, but the global install unfortunately is not what it seems like. So if I do npm install -g request, kind of installs it, and I would expect that, you know, now I have installed it globally, I should still be able to run my program. But this is what I still keep running into. It still says I cannot find the module. So global is not what it seems like. So what we still have to do is npm, let me go ahead and do this, npm uninstall -g request. Okay, npm install. This is my package 21 request. Yep, what did I do? npm install. Okay. Oh, I contacted it. So now if I run my program, it gives me something. All right, it's coming back successfully. So the key over here is if your program is going to use required keyword, that you want to do a required, just example over here that we are doing require, always do the local install. npm install is the way to go. If the package requires a required keyword, it is supposed to be installed locally. Okay, if there's a package that does not use the word require, and we are going to see towards the end of the class one example of that package, then you do a global. What global does is, if you see, I'm using node and then I'm putting the file name, right? So if you want your package to be kind of recognized by your terminal, that's where the -g comes in. Any node package that you're going to run in the terminal, you need to do a -g. One of the good examples is right now in front of you, node. If I don't have node on my computer installed or running, if I do node something, you know, you will see that error saying, hey, bash cannot recognize node or something crazy. And that's the issue. If you want your terminal or your git bash to recognize it as like a global command, you need to do npm install -g and then do it. And we'll look at one of these packages which needs a -g, and this is the only reason. Okay, locally, if you're using the required keyword, it's always going to be local npm install package, and this is how it's going to work. If your program or the package that you're using says you don't need to do this, instead for some reason it has to run on command line, then you're going to install -g. Okay, so for now let's focus on the local part. We'll come back and see this one later on, but for now all our packages are local. And what I mean is, if you see note over here, this folder wasn't there earlier when I did a npm install request and all that stuff. This showed up over here, so this gives you a hint that this is my installation directory where it is installing my local package. Okay, since this is local, if I have a different program in a different folder with the same request, we saw this yesterday also, it wouldn't run. You still have to do npm install locally to that package, and then it's going to run. Okay. Okay, any questions on node versus npm? What does packages mean? Local install, how do you install it? So I have a feeling this thing comes from, if somebody has used Linux, if you're trying to install something on a Linux or a Unix box, the command I think is like sudo apt install. It's kind of, you have to write everything out. I think the inspiration comes from that OS, but I could be wrong. But that's what it seems to me every time I type this in. Okay. And the website that you can see all, what is the website? It's actually the main website of npm. You can Google npm packages and this will show up. So this URL has all the packages that are available for you to download from npm. Now the simple command you see is we did npm install package, but behind the scene what it is doing is going out. Behind the scene it already has a directory set up and everything, so it goes to this CDN, finds this package, downloads it, then installs it on a computer. But you don't have to worry about that. But that package has to exist over here. Oh, so this one you see request, this is the one we are using. They have a React package, Express. We are going to look at Express at some point. Moment.js, we saw Moment. The Moment also has a Node package. Debug, we saw FS. This is something in addition to that. There's like a lot more. I think they're sorted by the popularity, like how many people are using it or what has been done. So there are a lot more packages. The one that we are going to look today is Inquirer. I said we are going to take a look at this one, what it does. And there's one more called Inspect. I think. Let's see if it shows up. Inspect. Inspect process. Yeah, this one. We'll take a look at this one also. So this is the website. You can go take a look at it.
Somebody has that wicked sense of humor with the thing on the corner. If you click npm, it gives you another acronym.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah. So it keeps changing every time you refresh it.
Yeah.
That's a. There you go. Very appropriate. Okay, so this is what npm is. They have all the packages over here, what you are going to use. You guys can Google, see what your need is, and then search if there's. Most of the time somebody has written that what you're looking for, and that's how you do it. Okay. Any questions? Node, npm. Kind of makes sense a little bit. Yeah. Okay. A little bit overwhelming. All right, let's take a look at this one. Okay. Let's. Oh no. Folder. Let's write this one out really quickly. Let me call it w.js. It's too much typing. Okay, in this one we are going to look at the weather dash JS node package. So let's go ahead and search for that. Let me see. Let's see if they have a better documentation. So it says weather JS. Okay, this one. Okay, looks like they have some better documentation. All right, so it says weather is a module for obtaining weather information. Okay, I want to see this one. So it says pretty easy, npm install weather.js, and then here's the sample code over here. So I'm just going to copy this. And do you guys want me to type the whole thing out? Did somebody say yes? There! See how fast I typed?
So amazing.
Thank you. All right. So the first thing.
They thought it was not particularly manly.
Yeah.
It's too late in the day.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see what they have. I'm going to keep this here and a little bit type it out so you can understand what's going on. Okay, so the first line they say require weather.js. So require, I see, then I should think, okay, I need to do an npm install. I will go ahead and do that. The second one, they are saying that they have a find method. Looks like it takes 2 arguments. Weather.find. Okay, I'm going to close this. And what do I see? I see it takes 2 arguments. What is the first argument's data type?
Nice.
String.
Data type. String. Think again. So so the first argument has curly brackets. What data type has curly brackets? Object. Excellent. So the first argument is an object. The second argument, it says function, blah, blah, blah. What does it tell? What is the second argument? It's a what?
Location.
Like a data type.
String.
It's a function. It's not a string.
Oh, I'm looking at the search.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Let me clear this up. So this is the second argument. What does this tell you? What is the second argument called? Function. But what kind of function? Starts with a C. Callback function. Yes. Every time you see an anonymous function, 99% of the time it's a callback function. All right. So 2 arguments. One is an object. All right, and the second is a callback function. So I'm just going to write this out here so that I have my curly brackets and everything in place. All right. So going back, looks like first is an object. So I have a property and a value. All right. So it looks like the property is search and the temperature, kind of like a metric you want to look at it. All right. So I will say search. Since it's a property, this thing. And then I can put someplace, let me put Phoenix, AZ, all right? And the second property is degree type, okay? And it's probably F and C, all right? So the second argument is a callback function. All right, callback function has two arguments, error and result. All right, from our request package we kind of guess that error has the error and result has all our data that we are looking for. Let me format this. Okay, so this is all from the documentation. I have never used weather.js, and this is the first time using. I'm just looking at the documentation, copy paste it out, try to understand from. I'm kind of understanding from the request package. Kind of seems similar. A little bit different arguments for the first one, but I can kind of guess, okay, what's going on. And then like previous ones, I want to make sure if there's any error, I don't want to proceed. So I will say console log my error so I can look at it and see what went wrong. Okay. Now this return statement. What return statement is saying that if there is any error, print this out and return. This means do not proceed any further. Just go back and end this function. That's what the return over here means. Okay, so I don't want my code to go any further or do anything further. Okay, if there is no error, then it's going to go ahead and I'm going to do console log something. Ooh, okay. Going back, I see they're doing a json.stringify. Okay, so we saw json.parse. We have seen json.stringify before. What json.stringify does is it takes the JSON object, converts it into a string. All right. All right. Now stringify has three arguments: result, null, true. Of course, I don't remember what each of these means. So JSON stringify. Let's go back to our MDN and see what each one of these mean. Oh, come on. Okay. Let's see. Value. The first is a value replacer. Okay, the value to I convert to a JSON string. Okay, that's easy. I want my result to be converted. Okay. My second one says replacer, a function that alters the behavior stringification process of string or array. If the value is null, all properties are included in the result JSON string. I think I need to research a little bit more. For now, I'll just keep it null. Seems easier. Space, a string object that used to insert white space into the output. Okay, seems like this is using it to make it more pretty, separate it out so that it's more easily readable. And the limit is 10. Okay. They're using 2, I'll use 2 too. Okay. So this should complete my method. It should go search for Phoenix if everything looks good and come back and show me the result. Let's go back and see. This is exercise number 22. 22. More w.js. What am I missing? npm install. Yep. Weather.js. Okay, created a folder with all my installations. Play this. Let's go back and see if it runs now. Okay, yeah. Nicely formats it. Easy to read. All the information is there. Okay, that's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Works for everybody?
Yeah.
Any questions? You got a 404? Who got a 404? 404. 404. Any questions on this exercise? We are going to look at the next one, which is kind of similar, and this time you guys will go ahead and install some of the packages mentioned in the activity, try to run them, try to get some information back. But before we proceed, is this clear? Everybody understands how to install? Yes.
I get it. It's just I got an error that says that it cannot find whether -js required.
Okay.
Is this something that I cannot do?
Did you do an npm install weather.js? So if it says if it cannot find the module, almost 100% of the time it's that I haven't done a npm install. So all of these require packages. You have to do an npm install and then package name. Did you do this? Okay, so do npm install weather.js and then run your program. Make sure you are in that folder. Yes, Ben.
What's the 2 for again? Or how'd you get 2?
What was that?
The 2?
Oh, the two means how many spaces do you need between the parsing of this JSON string. Yeah, that's what the documentation says. So you can increase it to 4. I think documentation says it goes up to like 10 white spaces. So 10 is a maximum number. So I think it's this thing over here that's like 2 spaces. It makes it nice to look at. Did it work, Andreas? Now you have a different error? That's good actually, if you see a different error. This means it didn't move forward. We'll take a look. Alright, any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and do the next activity this time. Geocode npm. See what this says. Oh, this is going to be our MapQuest API. All right, let's do this in groups of 2. Work with your neighbor. Hopefully, at least one of you guys have that API key. It's pretty fast. I think if you even sign up right now, it's going to come up. I did it like it was instant. All right. The API allows you to make like 15,000 requests. So you can share your API. It should be okay. Pretty sure we are not going to reach that limit today in the class. So. You can write a script that keeps pounding their API. Yeah. Yeah. For 0 to 14,999 times, go and hit that API. That'll be interesting. All right. So it looks like use your API. Use the node -geocoder npm package. Look it up, and then see the documentation. See how you can get the same information. Are there 2 type of this? No, there's only 1.
When I signed up for the key, there's 2 keys. There's the consumer key and the consumer secret.
So if you look at the code, it says your map consumer key.
Consumer. Okay.
Yep. So I signed up also, and this key that you need to use. Okay. So we'll take 15-20 minutes to complete this exercise and then take a break after that and then look at something new.
Because I'm calling this up the same way, right? Node and then the program name, right?
That's how it should be.
And I did to make sure that I'm in the right directory. Well, there wasn't a directory for the, but there's a directory, the unsolved directory.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it looks like I got it in there, right? Audited 72 packages, and then I tried to run it here. Hold on a second. It looks like it's not there, but unless I.
Well, you haven't written any code to do anything.
What's that?
You haven't written any code to do.
Oh,
So it is
my bad.
successful. It's not giving you error. This means it's if you uninstall it and run the exact same code, you're going to see.
Oh, right. So,
So this means it is.
I got. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got to do my arguments.
Yeah, you have to fill out look at the documentation and
Yeah.
see what how this API works.
Okay.
Hopefully, they have a better documentation.
Fair enough.
Oh. Well,
Excuse me.
you don't have to put anything. You already have it. You just have to click the My Application part of it, and then pop down your.
On the docs. Oh, gotcha. It should be geocode. Yeah. Yeah, it's no geocode.
If somebody is trying for the challenge one, look at the JavaScript methods slice and join. No, not this one.
Just to clarify, to start with this.
Is that where your JS file is?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have to do it right now.
Wherever your JS file is, that's where you need to install. So if I run the code as is without making any changes, I'll get the module error since I haven't done the install.
I got the error before it did the install.
Before it installed?
No, I got the error before then I installed it.
Yeah.
And no error. But,
Yeah, this means that it's working.
But I was looking in the documentation.
So now I installed it and no error.
Yeah,
Okay.
no error. I'm the same place you are.
Yep. So now we can go ahead and do the next set of. So what does the activity say? I need to get an input. Let's do the easy one. The format city, comma, space, state. Okay. So my input looks like city, comma, space, and then state. So since this is a space, so this is going to be my index 2. And this is going to be my index 3. So process.arg v index 2, and this is going to be my city, and then my state is going to be third. Okay, and the activity says to include the comma, so that's why I have the comma over here. So let's see, let me console.log my city, state. Okay, so I'm getting my city and state. Build your address as an array or string. Okay, so I can say var address is equal to city plus state, straightforward. Console.log this. Okay, it combines the address. Let's take a look at the
space in there. We'd have to we still have to add the space in there.
You can do a space before.
Yeah, you can add a.
Plus, quote, space.
Oh, that's good. Good catch. Doesn't have a space. Oh, there you go. Okay, that's better. Nice. Let me search this. What's it called? Geocoder. Node.
Blank space and then plus space.
Okay, so I did this part. It says provider API key. Okay, let me go back and see here. So I have these options. Provider is MapQuest, and then so that's kind of interesting that this package can read from multiple sources. We are using MapQuest. Apparently, you can use Google Maps also if you have the key. That's nice. It has MapQuest, OpenCage, Google Premiere. Okay. That's cool. So let me get my API key.
You have space in front of that. I don't know if that'll mess you up.
Oh yeah, I will. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay.
I don't normally notice stuff, but
Oh, that's nice.
better.
And then I just call this method here, geocoder this. Oh, similar to the weather one we saw. But this one takes a string. Oops. So I don't have to worry about the object. And then okay. Geocoder dot geocode. And the first is the string, so that's my address. Okay. The second is a callback function. Do this, close this out. My callback function has two arguments, error and result. Error, result. Okay. If error, okay, I'll do a return. Okay. Otherwise, log the result. Okay. Let's run this and see what happens. Okay, I'm getting, let me do formatting for this one. Let's see what's, so we can see the difference. JSON dot stringify. Result. Okay, so you can see the difference. It kind of separates these out nicely in a different line. Let's see if I do 4. Okay, this spaces out. There's more space here.
On space 2.
Oh, space 2. Yeah.
It's how many spaces
Yeah.
indents. Correct.
Yes, how many spaces it indents. Yeah.
So let's see what I get here.
So let's see if the challenge was if the address has spaces and all that stuff. So we're saying slice. What does slice do? Okay, slice 1 to 3. Okay. Okay, so slice gives me index 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. There's 3. Okay. So slice will remove these. If I do slice and a single integer, it removes the first whatever the number I have given here. Okay. So now if my address is, let's see, 234 Mesa, Phoenix, where is it? Okay, so let's see, process .B. So I want to skip the first two, of course, skip 0 and 1 index. So slice will skip those. And then I want everything else to be together. Let's see, JavaScript join array.join. Okay, so this will, if I do a join on this one, elements.join is going to join everything, and I can join on a character. Let me try this. Dodge join. I'm going to join them. A space and loop. So anything after the second index, if it has a space, I want all of these to come to me together. Okay, let's see. Or address 2. Console.log address 2. Let me try this. If I say 1, 2, 3, 4, Mesa, Phoenix, okay, so I get a string back like this. That's good. So I can pass this back.
Oh, after this. Gotcha. Is that right? Yeah.
Save that.
Auto save, yeah. Then I should be able to run it, right?
Correct.
No, I didn't. It said undefined and then it ran it.
Right, because you didn't tell it where you were going, where you wanted it. So that's what you're doing here. You're calling it the city and the state. There's actually a space in between two. Gotcha. And then now, go ahead and
Do it again.
return.
Run it again.
Just press up.
Okay.
Now, space.
Okay.
And type in
So this is how you can combine
just take the city.
and make sure that all of them is one argument. So we'll take a break, come back at 8, and we'll be here. Let me know if you have any questions on this exercise, and we'll start a different one.
That's okay. So what was that terminal trick you were doing? Was it
You can use this and allow the join.
Oh, I think we cleared it.
What it works. Everything works. I got to understand why. Like on the slice and join.
Yeah.
What does that do?
So
Because we typed in Mesa Phoenix AZ, right?
yeah.
So I'm guessing.
So what happens right now is, if you do like your node, right, and then your application name.js, right, and then everything you type out after that, it breaks it by space, right? If you
Yeah,
say
and we named the first one is city and the second one state. So we named these two.
Right. So we said city,
Yeah,
comma, and state, right?
and we gave those variables.
Right. And then you combine those two by saying, oh, add them up and send it to the API, and everything works. Right? Now, what the purpose of what if you have street space city space state, right? And all of this is you want to pass the whole thing as one argument into that API. So how do you make sure that all these three is actually one argument? So this is just another way to join them. Yeah. So what slice does is slice any number that you give in, it will skip those. It's these are all array methods. Okay. So in an array, if you put slice, it will skip those whatever the number over here is. So let's suppose you have 0 index 1, these are 2, 3, and 4.
In this case, we skipped two. We skipped two.
Right, because the first is the path, second is the path of the JS, so we don't want these two anywhere. So that's why when we do slice 2, it will skip these two.
So we skipped the city. We skipped the state.
Oh no. These are your process dot arg array. So in this array, remember I was saying the first index is the path,
Yeah.
and the second is the path to your JS file. So we are trying to skip those two. Okay, so that's why we need the slice too, because we are not interested in the first two indexes. When you type this in Node.js, blah blah blah, you don't see it, but there are two more indexes which are not visible to you. But when you do process.argv, those two also come in. So we want to skip those two.
Okay.
So that's why we do slice, and then join is basically saying anything after this. This array just combine all of these.
And that's one. And that's one request.
One request, yeah.
Okay.
That's how we do join. So it's just another way if you want to skip. You want to make sure that all of these are just one argument. That's how you do it.
And the API response that we get back, why is it so long this time? Like last time, we just did Phoenix, Arizona, and it was a lot shorter. There's two objects, right?
What's the second?
And then after this, I typed in Mesa, then Phoenix AZ, and then it shot back Mesa Phoenix. So that's like 3, right?
Yeah, 3. And then it says longitude, latitude, so this one also includes the county or the city information, or whatever Mesa is. Well, actually, it should be Mesa, Arizona. It should be Mesa, Phoenix. I typed it wrong. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, Mesa, AZ, 85. I typed it wrong, but this way, yeah, try this. It just gives you a little bit more information.
Okay. That's all I was thinking. I was wondering. I didn't know if I wrote the request wrong.
No, you're right.
Okay.
It's probably the
The user only interface.
Oh, hold on. Don't use it. We'll actually get the website. Right. Yeah.
And then Silence you as a developer.
Oh, I get it. Does it shoot the whole array into the API key? Is that
Yeah,
why?
yeah. That's
Because it
what
gets
does.
longer and longer.
Yep, it shoots the whole API inside.
So if I did it again, it's going to be even longer. The response.
Oh, it's supposed to be the same.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See how it's just repeating?
It's show me your code.
Code.js.
You're probably doing.
It should be kind of like, what's that horrible website? Like it should have some aspect of that saying like, yo, I tried this, it doesn't work. But legit, there is no communication like that.
So everything's like bad line.
It's definitely one of the not awesome things about it. But one of the things I look at to see like, is this legit? It's got a tab on there like recent downloads and speeds. If that is not in like the tens of thousands, that is a lot of them you'll see spikes. Like I've had 1 million downloads, but in the last
City straight up and down.
that just means no
You're
development.
seeing services to address.
I turned off city and state.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be good. So I have only one. Let me remove this console log so that I can see it better. So
Yours is long too.
yeah, MapQuest.
So that's just how it responds now.
Oh yeah, it's giving. Yeah, let me look at the documentation. I think it gives you, based on that coordinate, it gives you like anything that is surrounding it.
Oh, it might be like city, county, state, country.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's what it gives you. So you see the address is over here. It says 1234 S Mansard Street or something. It's probably not able to find my exact address.
oh, so it's giving
So
you
that's
separate.
okay. What if I search this? Then it will probably give me the. Oh, it still gives me a lot more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look at this documentation and see if we give more what happens. We're searching a lot more in the neighborhood of those.
Who knows? I'm satisfied.
Yeah, important point, it works over here, and that was it. The data could be, we can sort it out and see what the data is doing, but you can connect to it, you can get the data back.
Okay. Thank you.
Whatever I have, it's not hard to get out.
Is there a place where you can see like the slides and stuff of the some versions of it's like I haven't seen them in such a long time. I don't remember. Like,
Yeah, it's the last, right? Presentations are initially, after that it's like. Might be a few more.
Give me one.
Yeah, so I guess
I thought this was my issue, but talking to some people, I realized it's the issue for a lot. Going on. And he's got mom. He's not fat at all. Well, between the weird, I think between the two of them, she's richer than her side. Well, when you
It saved me so much time. It took me days, literally days, to build something like that.
Maybe he will, but he's got like
all I know is big model. And probably she's not like that drop dead horse kind of chick where you're like there. She's really just tough. Like she's like kind of pretty face. But she's super duper smart. So like are the words that Trey song Chris Brennan's me out and he goes
Snakes.
yeah, no kidding. But apparently the dude likes to date around.
It starts your day off right.
Yeah, it's totally changed. I'm thinking they're a lot more mature than that's been like what was mine is
you can actually keep secrets back then now.
oh no.
Now I have to keep
Your parents couldn't find you.
it's a strange.
I grew up.
Yeah.
All day. By the time I got home, that's literally what I was doing. It's like walking down my road and walking my driveway. Everything's micromanaged. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Dancing at 'Where I actually before like but
That's it. Do it. That's what I thought we talked. Yeah.
It's actually the first time in our true it's really yeah, because like Will was telling me when he did this, a lot of these time I said small things you can see clean it up to make it. That's the only word. So it's and honestly, no matter how much I want, so there's never where you go. That's everything over. No, what happens is there's some elements that piece those together with other elements.
All right. Any questions on the last exercise?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of got it working? Okay. Good. All right. Let's start the next topic. Okay. So do this exercise together. Talk with your neighbor about it. It's more like a discussion one. Take a moment to run the weatherdesk.js application. So our TAs are going to send you a zip file. Download the zip file and then run as it is. See what happens. Yep. Maybe do this with your partner. One person does it and the other one watches it, so that you guys are working together and kind of figuring it out. Just do it on one computer. So you have this zip file. What was that? Good. 3-way. Okay.
Read with weather.js. But you haven't installed it. No. I noticed.
So again, don't install anything. Just download the zip and then try to run it and see what happens. Did you install it already?
Is that different than what's on the
You uninstall it? Huh?
You have to unzip it?
Yeah, unzip it,
Okay.
and then it has this file. Run that file and see.
Oh, there we go.
I just extract all of it.
Yeah, extract it. Try to run it. If there's any error, fix it. But the hint is you shouldn't have to install anything. It should ideally it should run as it is.
It's because I have this reading.
Is the so the one that we downloaded from frequently unzip that first, or the one that's
This one,
yeah,
24 package,
yeah.
right? Unzip it, and it should come with this. And just go inside this folder and run whether
It's the weather.js file, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm in the right direction. That's weird.
Okay. And then look at the code and discuss with your neighbor what's going on in the code. And even if you're not able to run it, it's okay. We'll come back and see this. But the more important is look at the code also. Spend like a minute or two. Go in this file, run it. If it runs, it's fine. If there's any error, the hint is you shouldn't have to install anything. It should run. The other part is, let me see. Yeah, the other part is this thing. Make sure you are. Yeah, you have to put your key over here.
Yeah, I put
Make it.
weird.
After that, it should run. Okay. Make sure you are in the right.
Wait a
one.
minute. I think of it.
Yeah.
If not, then just take a look at the code and we'll discuss this.
Correct directory. Correct field. It's still node file name, right?
There's what?
It's still node and then file name, right?
Yeah, and then you have to give the arguments, right? It's the same example from the previous one. You have to give the. You see over here on the top it says example do Paris, France. Did you do that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did do that. My bad. Gotcha.
Okay. So you see, all right, let's get back. So you see, guys, see what I did was I just unzipped this file, changed my key, and then I ran this with arguments, right? Did anybody has issues getting to this point? Was everybody okay? What was it? Modular? Are you in the right package? Are you inside the 24 and then inside 24?
Yeah,
So you should be.
It should be too deep into it.
Yeah. So the package that you unzipped, make sure you are inside that package. Yes, it does. Good point, and that is the moral of this chapter.
The zip.
Oh well, unzip it on desktop and do. Yeah.
The zip file is in the middle.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that would explain why I'm not it.
No, we're still getting the same error.
What's the error you're getting?
Cannot find module for whether
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one? This one?
Okay.
You are inside this one?
Yeah, I got it now, I think.
Oh, no. So it should be in your good flash, right?
You know what it is I got the folder inside of the folder. So you gotta go inside that folder.
Yeah, it has to be inside the folder.
This is like what we did for.
All right, let's get back. So this is so what we did was we passed around a whole project, right? It included node underscore modules folder and all that stuff, and basically without any installation you were able to run it, right? So what is happening is you already have this folder and it already has the installation required for this and this. Okay. All right, one more time. So in this code, what the special thing is, we are using more than one packages. Okay, and that will be the case in your projects or in your activities or whatever you do in your projects. You're going to use more than one package, of course. Okay, and this is how you would do it. The only thing is, every time you install it, it will have a node underscore modules folder. It will have all the installation for how many packages you're using. Let's suppose I'm using 5 packages, right? And I install all 5 of them. All 5 of them will be installed in this folder. And let's suppose you are collaborating with your team. You have a 4-person team. You're working around it. What you have to do is you have to zip this and then send it to them, right? If they do not have this node underscore modules folder, what's going to happen? It's going to give you an error, right? And they have to go and install it or whatever they have to do, right? But the easiest is you zip this and then send it to them. It has a folder. Nobody has to do anything. You can run the app, right? But this is the wrong approach. What are some of the disadvantages of doing this?
You don't get updates.
You don't get updates.
Uses up memory.
Uses the memory. Your file size is kind of getting bigger because if you have 10 modules, imagine your node underscore modules folder,
It's
right?
like you're buried.
Yeah.
It takes longer to install on any server to try and
It's
download
like
it.
that.
Right.
I mean,
So guys, never ever when you zip or whenever your project is, it shouldn't have node underscore modules in your main project. Okay, what do I mean by this is when I upload these files in my GitHub, right? I check in my code and everything. This folder should never ever be checked in or should never exist on your GitHub. Okay, I learned it the hard way, so it should never be there, right? So what will happen is when somebody goes in your code, downloads your GitHub project, they should only see the relevant files, whatever these are, like my weather des.js, and then they are going to install whatever is required to run this code. Okay, so whenever you are checking your code, make sure node underscore modules folder or any kind of vendor installation, we call it vendor, which means that I'm using somebody else's project or packages, should never be checked in inside your GitHub. Okay, now we're going to look at how we since it's not there, my project is not going to run, right? I need this folder, I need all the installation. It's not going to run if it is not there. We'll see how to tackle that problem. But the more important is, so if you see in your GitHub, there was a .git ignore file, right? Anybody remember that? So if you look at that, they have a template for Node.js, and if you look at the template or the .git ignore file, it will have something saying ignore this file. So what that does is you always make sure in your projects you have a .git ignore file. This will prevent us to do stupid things. I forget it and I'm like checking everything. I'm like I don't know, I'll just check in everything, right? So if you have a .git ignore file and it has the Node.js template, it comes built in with saying that ignore this folder. So you will never upload that folder. So it's good to have the .git ignore file in your projects always. Okay. But if you don't have it, make sure that you're not checking in anything, any installation. That's what it is for. Yes. It has .gitignore has a lot more template. It has Java template, Python, a lot more. And all of those templates usually have the files that shouldn't be checked in or are not necessary because they are kind of generated whoever downloads that code. They are supposed to generate those files. They are not required by the project. It will work. So that's why this file has all the files that has to be excluded. For Node.js, it will have node_modules folder. Okay. Now, since I don't have this folder, what I would have to do is I have to go ahead and install this, right? I have to install each one of them. Now, let's suppose I'm working on your project and I come back, I download from your GitHub, you have done everything correct, so there's no node_modules folder, right? I download the code and what I have to do is now I have to look into your code and try to see, oh, what are the libraries that you're using? Okay, what are the packages you're using? And then I have to go and do a npm install this, npm install weather.js, npm install node geocoder, npm install. If there are 10 more, I have to do each one of them. Okay, so yes.
So is it then better to use a URL there instead of the actual directory for Node? Like you can put a HTTPS and call file, right?
In require?
Yeah. No.
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 No. Require doesn't work like that. You might be able to put it, but it might be doing something different. It's not going and looking and trying to download the package. This is the way you have to do it. You have to install it and then use it. So when the require keyword, what it does is it goes ahead and looks into your local directory and tries to find that file. If it doesn't, then it will give you an error. You can try HTTP, but I don't think, well, that's not the right way to do it anyway.
Sure.
It might be doing something different.
Right? You say like you would attach CSS to a page, would it not be better? You don't have to worry about outdated packages, things like that.
Right. So there's a way to do that, and that's what we are going to look at. Yep. So the concern is correct that maybe my package is outdated. How do I make sure everything is good? Or whoever is downloading my code gets all the installations and packages that I want the user to see. Right. So for that, we are going to look at something called package.json. Right. Before looking at it, package.json is I would like to say like a metadata file. What package.json does is it describes your project or describes your whatever the Node.js files or whatever it contains. It kind of describes that, right? So if I look at package.json file over here, right, it's a JSON file as the name suggests. It has a name, version, description, something, few more things, and in the end you will see dependencies. Okay. So dependencies are mentioning all my packages that I'm using in this project. All right. Let's see how we generate this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Okay. I'm even going to go ahead and delete this too. Okay. Let me go back to my console. Let's see, nothing is here. Going to give me an error. Okay. All right. So every project should have a package.json file. Okay. Now the first thing we are going to look at is how do we generate this package.json file. So and this is one time only. Whoever starts the projects, they have to do it the first time, and then nobody has to do it again. Okay, as long as your package.json exists, nobody has to do this again. Since if you see my folder, I don't have it, I have to do this the first time. So I will say npm init, which means initialize, init, and that's it. Then it's going to prompt you, and what the prompt are, they are going to create your package.json file. Okay, so it says the first is package name. So I can say, what is this? Weather, give it any name. I'm going to give this name. The second question, it says version 1.0.0. Yeah, that's my version. Description. This returns me weather info. Okay. Entry point. Is this my entry point? Weather-.js. Yeah, that's my entry point. Test command. Forget, I don't have any test command. Git repo. For now, I don't have any git repo. Keywords. These are like tags. So I can say weather. What else can I say? Geocode. Maybe location, something like that. Okay. Author. That's me. Can put my name here. License. Different licenses. If you leave it, it's going to be ISC. There's MIT for public use. Let me just put this. And then it's going to generate a package.json file. And it says, is this okay? I will say yes, it is fine. Okay. On my right, here's my package.json file. Okay. Right now, it doesn't. It just has the information about my project. Nothing. Nothing about my dependencies or anything going on over here. Okay, simple package.json which describes my project. Okay. Now I want to add my dependencies inside this package.json, right? So again, this is the first time. Yes.
So I tried that, and after version, I pressed enter, and it skipped all the way to Git repository.
It didn't say. It might be your version of npm. I updated it last night.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm using npm -v 6.4.1. Is that what you have? (6.4.1) npm space -v.
6.1.
Yeah, that might be the thing. So if you update it, you're going to get those prompts. I updated just like last night. I was on a much lower version. Okay, so now I have this my package.json file. Okay, it has the information, just how something about my project. Now this is the interesting part. Now I want to add my dependencies. So what was the first one? Weather -js. Okay. Yeah, nom npm install weather-js. Thank you. Okay, again, the steps that I'm showing you are to be done the first time. Okay, so this is the original author who's trying to create the initial project. First thing is npm init. This will generate a package.json file. Okay, now the next part is I have to add the dependencies. So I still have to do npm install. I will do this and look at my package.json. It automatically got added over there. So what is happening is npm goes and looks at your folder and tries to find a package.json file. If it finds it, it's going to go ahead and add this as a dependency automatically. If it's not there, it's going to ignore it and doesn't do anything. But if you have a package.json file, it's going to go and automatically add this. Okay. My second dependency was geo. What is it? Geo code. Is there anything else, or that's it? That's it?
It's node-geocode.
Node-geocode. Node-geocode. Is that how it is? Let me just look it up here. Node geocoder. Okay. Okay. And I have my package.json over here. It's going to go add it, and then it gets added over here. Okay. I did not have to manually do anything other than the installation. All right. Now let me go and run my code. My this thing, it will run. It will show me all this information. Everything is good, right? But here's the good. Now you have done this. It exists. Package.json goes into your GitHub. You will check in everything. What you won't check in is your node module. So let's suppose I go ahead and download your code. I will not have this file, right? I will not have the node module. This is how I'm going to download your code from GitHub. This is what I will have. I will have a folder. I will have package.json, readme, and my code. Okay. Since I don't have this, if I run my code, it's going to give me an error, right? It's going to say, oh, blah, 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 it doesn't exist. Module is not there, right? So one way is I go and look at the code. I say, oh, whether these, I go and install everything manually, right? I say npm install this, npm install this. But since I have a package.json file, I don't have to worry about that. What I do is I say npm install. That's it. If you do npm install, what npm does is it goes, tries to find a package.json file, looks into dependencies, and goes ahead and installs everything. I was kind of excited when I first found this out. So I can run my code. So the advantage over here is any programmer who is looking at your code, downloads your code, just the JS files and a package.json file, doesn't worry about what it takes and what is involved, what are the dependencies. He or she just runs npm install, and whatever is in your package.json file is going to go ahead and install all your dependencies. Okay? Yes.
Now, once they are done with that install, can they uninstall it the same way?
They don't have to uninstall. Well, you can there's no uninstall part. You can uninstall it individually, saying npm uninstall this. But most of the time, we do not do. I have never used uninstall anyway, because once I do it, now I have my project set up. I'm making my code changes. I still want those packages anyway, right? If I don't want it, right, I just delete this first line. Let's suppose I'm not going to use my weather.js anymore, right? So I will just delete it. I don't have to uninstall it because all my installation is in this folder. I'm never going to check in this folder in my GitHub ever. Okay. So it's just there. I mean, you can uninstall it. I have never uninstalled anything because, I know this is local. It's taking like few bytes. It's fine. I'm going to delete my folder anyway. Never going to check in. So, but you can uninstall it. It will go away. Yeah. Okay. So it's important any project that you do for Node.js, check in your GitHub. You should have a package.json, okay, and then it should have all your dependencies. There should be no node_module being checked into your folder. Okay. The first time whoever is doing this, they just need to do npm init, generate a package.json file, fill out all the stuff, and then do individual npm installs. Package, so that your npm this file contains all of these dependencies. But you don't have to do it. If you don't want, what you can do is you can copy paste and type this. I've done that before also. Yes.
If you already have the modules installed,
yeah,
and then you do the npm init, will it acknowledge which ones are already installed and then add that in, or will it only add after?
I think it only adds. That's a good question. I haven't tried that. We can try that right now. So the question is, if I have the node modules folder existing, but I don't have the package.json file, right? And if I do npm init, will it do it or will it not? Let's find out. I haven't done this way before, but we can quickly. So this folder, I'm going to delete this. Yes. Go back here and I'm going to say npm init. All right. I will say weather test. Okay. Yes. Description weather info. Okay. Entry point. Yes. Test command. No keywords. Weather. Author me. Sure. Yes. Okay. So I didn't do it. You have to do it after it has been created. Good question. All right. Any questions? It's a little bit complicated, but once you guys get used to it, you know, it's kind of hard to survive without the package.json file. I mean, I will tell you once you're doing your project, or if you go out and do at work, this dependencies, where's my, oh, it's not here, but these dependencies over here, they get huge. I've seen like 20-30 dependencies. Yeah, it's pretty common. As your project gets bigger, complicated, you are trying to find different packages, trying to use all of them. So these dependencies kind of get bigger, right? And sometimes it takes a while when I do a npm install, and you know, oh, I'm going to go and get coffee. By the time I come back, it's going to, you know, install everything. That's how many packages there are. Yeah. But the good thing is you just have to write one thing and it will install. You don't have to worry about or checking the code and trying to see. Right now we just have like one file, and I can actually look at it and find out I'm using 2 dependencies. But actually, you will have like multiple JS files separated out, more code in a, you know, like following the dry principle. I'm using different modules, so my require is spread out in different JS files. I don't know what it is, so that's why I just do a package.json npm install, and everything that is in my dependencies will be downloaded. Okay. All right. Questions?
So does npm install get the current packages and download them? Is that what we're saying, to make sure that it's always current?
Yep. So if you see back,
I'm just talking about like we talked about.
Yes.
The issues being that
yep,
our packages can be outdated.
right. So here's the what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring those dependencies that George made me delete. So you see, oh, didn't show up here. There we go. Oh no, what happened? Npm install. Was I in the wrong folder? This didn't get updated. Oh, there it is. Okay. So you see this caret thing over here? This is what it is saying, that if there's a higher version, if there's a newer version than 2, either bring 2 or any higher version. That's what it will do. I will be careful about it. If I remove it, then it will always bring the 2.0.0 version of weather.js. Most of the cases you will see without caret. The thing is that I have written my code, I have tested it out, and I for sure now know that 2.0 version of this one works with my code. Sometimes what happens is when I do higher version, they might be breaking changes. They might have updated their package, and now I haven't tested my code according to that. And what will happen is your code might break. So just be careful what you are putting over here. I have actually run into the issues, and I couldn't figure out because I had this, and then my code was breaking because I was using AngularJS. They released a new version, and they changed their looping strategy or something, and my current code started breaking. And the reason was because I was telling npm to bring me the latest and the greatest version, but my code wasn't reflecting it. So just be careful if you have this. You know, make sure if these guys change their version or change their code, just be on the lookout, see what's going on, make sure that it still works. Yeah. I try to stay away with the caret because this is something that I have tested with. I know for sure this version works. If there's something in the newer version that I really want, then I want to make sure that my code actually runs to it. So just be careful about this one. Okay? Good question. Anything else? All right, then let's go ahead and do the next exercise, and you guys try your hand on this one. Do we have an exercise for this one? Let me see. Okay, so you guys go ahead and do the same exercise that I showed you. Try it on your own if you haven't. Take like 5 minutes. Do a npm init. Delete the Node.js node underscore modules folder. Make sure you guys understand how to generate this. If you have been following, it's fine. We'll take like 5 minutes and then we'll start on the new one. So everybody has done it. Anybody who has not done it? Did we follow the same exercise? Oh, okay. Who? Followed it? Okay. Alright, so... Okay, then we can just jump on to the next one. Let's see. Inquirer. Alright. So we are going to look at the... You guys can go ahead and look this up. It's called Inquirer. Find the NPM. See if you can find the documentation for this one. I think this is the one that the documentation wasn't there, or it was in a different release. It's kind of weird. You can see Inquirer. Let me spell this correctly. Oh yeah, this is the one. So I was looking at it. When I was looking at it, they didn't have any documentation, just says unable to find. So what I did was I went into versions and I went into a previous version which had some documentation. So let me go back and see 6.1. Let's see, does this have? Nope. And then I went into 6, maybe 5.2. Let me see this one. Okay, yeah. So 5.2 has a document. It hasn't changed. Documentation is the same. I think they were just being lazy and haven't updated the documentation for the newer versions. But this applies to the same 6. Version, whatever they are. Okay. So this we are going to learn together. I haven't used this until now. So we have looked at process.argv, right? Process.argv. Right, and what was it doing? It was taking input from the user on the terminal. So Inquirer, the programmer who came up with this, it serves the same purpose. It just makes it more fancy. All right, how it makes it more fancy is it not only allows you to take input, it kind of gives you like a checkbox also, kind of lets you move around arrows. Kind of lets you do the string as one, even though they are separated by space. They have some good options, so you can take those inputs. We'll take a look at it, and this is more useful because in your homework, I think there's something you need to take a user input. This will just make it more fancier and easier for you to grab the input. All right. The other good part is the other lesson for this is that you need to understand how to use packages in Node.js. Something that you're looking for, how do you go through it, go through the documentation and how to understand that. All right. So let's take a look at inquirer.js package. Let's see, do we have an activity or should I close this, close this, let's see if I know this. Okay, let's go ahead and do this together. So find out how to install Inquirer. Let's go back to the documentation, installation. Okay, npm Inquirer, nothing too crazy. So let me go to this exercise. 25. Okay. So I have to do a npm install Inquirer. Okay. Yes. Yep. So good question. npm uninstall know what? I'm not gonna install it. So it's going to go ahead and delete that folder. Okay. So since Anthony is right, I already have a package.json. I don't have to do. I just can do npm install, and it will go and look into that package.json file. It will say, oh, it requires a inquirer. I'm going to go ahead and install it. Yeah. All right. So now I have my I have installed it over here. Let's go ahead and run this so that you guys can first see how this is working. Okay. All right. So you see this prompt kind of had a string. It has this thing. It's kind of it's doing the same thing. We had a prompt. We were using process.argv. This is another package that allows you to take user input, but in a little bit fancier way. So I say my name, set your password, super secret password, pass 1 2 3 4. All right. See, I can shift around arrows. Kind of outputs what you did. This is the basic of the inquirer package. That's what it does. Kind of just making it more fancy. It's still the user input. How would I do? How would you do it? How would we do it if we were not using this one? We would say process.arg, and then we'll read the array saying space. First is the name, then the password, then comes whatever Pokemon you are choosing, and then you will take those, divide it into it, and then process whatever you want to do it, right? This one just kind of makes it more fancy, lets you put in some more keywords, some questions, some checkboxes. Okay. So let's take a look what the documentation is saying. How are they achieving this? Okay, so here it is. First you do the require, okay, and then it says the function is called prompt. All right. So in this one we included this, all good here. Then inquirer.prompt, okay, and then I close this. All right. So now this inquirer, the prompt is taking in square brackets, so it tells me it's an array. Okay, and it says array, pass your questions in here. So whatever questions that we were seeing on our terminal, those are the questions that I can guess are being passed in. So how am I passing over here? This is an array, all right, and I have an array of objects. Awesome. So let me collapse these. It's an array, so I can pass anything. All right, we'll come back and see what am I passing, and then it says dot then. Okay, I put in dot then function, and then it says, so this is another way to write the anonymous function. This is kind of like the newer way. But you don't have to worry about it. It's exactly the same as function, and then this thing, whatever we have to pass in over here. So let's see if I use my regular method. So it says, this says it has to be answers or some variable, right? So I just have to pass in one argument. So in my function, I'm going to just pass in answers or whatever variable I want to define. Okay, so dot then function and a variable, right? So in the request, in the previous weather.js, we saw we had error, response, result, and all that stuff. Looks like this this package is not interested in any one of those. All they want is one variable, which should have your answers. Okay, and then let's see, use user feedback for whatever. Okay, and then I have some stuff over here. We'll come back and look into it, what I'm doing over here. Okay, let's go back. So the first part was an array and your questions. Okay, so I have an array, I have an objects, and these things, type message name. Let's go back to your documentation. Over here, questions. So what it was saying is that use the prompt function and then pass in your questions over here. So I scroll down, there's a documentation what question means. So these are my options over here: type, name, message, choices, validate, filter, transformer, when, all these stuff, right? So in my example, what I'm using over here is type, which says input. This means I'm expecting a user input, right? It says default possible values, input, confirm, list, raw list, expand, checkbox. These are all the possible values. So I'm using the input one. So all of these, of course, that's what I'm saying. I haven't tried any of those. So, you know, try it out, see what happens, what are the outputs are. Seems like a lot more options. So over here, we're using input. Message is the question that comes up. What is your name? And this is my, I'm guessing this is my variable. Let's go back and see. The name, yeah, to store your answer. So in this variable, my answer is going to be stored, whatever I put in. All right, look at the documentation, says the name to use when storing the answer in the answer hash. Okay, so this variable is going to host my response. Okay, so that's the input type. Let's look at the second one. Okay, so I have an option for password apparently. Okay, password. So when you do set the password, I would guess the inquirer package, what it does, it does not let you show what you are typing. That's why when we were over here, right, when I was typing my password, it doesn't show, and it's because the type is password. All right, set your password, message that shows up, and this is the variable that my password is going to get stored in. All right, so that's the second type. Let's look at the third one. Oh, third one is the list. So the option over here. So out of these three, you already have an example for input, list, password. So list is the list that was showing up over here, right? At a list where I can scroll up and down. So this was possible using the list type. You put your choices, message, name. That's how it works. Okay. Let us look at the last one. Okay, so from these, now we're going to look at the confirm. Confirm says yes or no. Okay, so you give a default value, message, name, and the type. So these are some of the options that you can put in your question array. Now let's look at the answer one. So it looks at how is the answer working. This variable, which is the argument over here in my anonymous function, the callback function. Okay. Dot confirm, so it is making sure that there was a response. So if it is true, then go ahead and do something, otherwise don't do anything. Now these username, Pokemon, these variables, where are these coming from? Any idea where these variables are coming from? Username dot Pokemon. Yes.
So it puts your answers that you give into an object first.
Yep, these are the variables that I put in over here in the name property. So username, password, Pokemon. I can access all of these using this syntax: inquiry, response, whatever my argument is over here, and then dot that variable name. Okay. Any questions? I'll try my best to answer, but again, we'll have to go through documentation, study, and if there's something different. But the main point over here is that you have a package that is available that you can use in this way. Of course, we need to look at the documentation and see what we are trying to achieve. But this is just one example. All right. This will be useful in your homework for next week. Okay. So let's go ahead and do, if there are no questions, go ahead and try this on your own in the next exercise. Let's see what it says. Okay, so it's kind of similar. You can look at the previous one. Just want you to type it out. Try to see if you guys understand how to use them. Kind of get used to it. Try the basic input, password, list, checkbox, confirm. All of these have already been, we already saw in the previous exercise. You guys can take a look at it or try it on your own. And then look at the documentation and try to see if you can do an option that is not mentioned over here. So that would be, I don't know what, maybe editor, checkbox, expand, try to see what these do. So I'm going to leave this code over here. I'm not going to write that out. It's kind of very similar to this one, just to for you guys to try it out and see.
Let's just put it in a different right. Gotcha.
work?
Yeah, I just kind of keep my verbiage correct for the final sentence.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out why I got double of the same word.
Oh.
I don't know if it's because I had a space or shouldn't have had a space. It's like when you look at it, see, when you look at it, it works. So, that's what I think I'm looking for. I got the. Oh, I know why. I know why. Because the is in the title. That's why. It's not in the code. It's in the choice. See, so if I got rid of that, then it would be fun. Yeah. Oh, yep. Now I should get it. It already had the thought there. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what all these projects I've been running in debug. All these projects I've been running in debug mode. So when it uses the space application, it does not take inputs during the execution. So do you know a way
It might totally
work that?
So you're using the
So what is your
So I'm
name?
utilizing debug.
Password.
It's been working.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's been working up until this, where it's taking in inputs during the execution.
Okay.
And then just freezes, it just stalls out. Like, you know.
I haven't used the VS Code.
So how do you normally debug the code?
That's the next topic. I'll show you what I use.
Tips, Nick?
What do you use? But I think
Other
there's
than
a
the normal
because
looking
I
up the
was reading
list and
there's,
everything when you gotta navigate all those directories.
Chrome
What do you mean?
Inspector.
Any shortcuts to that?
For debugger.
Other than just looking them up and navigate?
I haven't
Works
used
for the
it.
terminal UI. I don't know how
Oh,
that
terminal?
would
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I haven't used that one.
What do you mean shortcuts?
Let me show you
Well,
the
like-
other one.
like when we're
but,
pulling up
we'll have to probably
activities
Google
and have
this
to
and
run
see
them
what the
through,
issue
we gotta
is.
change the directories
Because I haven't
all
used
the
the
time.
Visual Studio one.
No other way. I didn't figure there would be.
Nope. Lots of CDs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Okay.
Lots of CDs.
Well, then I know I was doing what I was supposed to do then.
All right. Before we move on to the next activity, and that activity kind of combines this one and the other one, I want to show you a debugger tool. That's kind of nice that we use for Node.js, and that tool is called, well, it's a package. It's called Inspect dash process, right? And so this will cover two things. Show you how to debug your code, and then what I was talking about the global. We've seen the local installation. This will also cover the global installation. All right. So if you look at the documentation and the installation process, it says -G. Okay. So guys, remember what I was saying. If your code has a required keyword, you have to install it locally, right? But if your code doesn't have require and you are still using a package, it is probably going to be installed globally. And if you install a package globally, this means it's going to be accessed through a terminal command, right? Through your black screen. So for example, when I do node, right, and I put something, so this means that node is a global package that was installed. So we are going to see the next one, which is also a global one. So let me go back in this directory, 28, cd 28.
So even if it says global, you're still installing it only in your project.
No, it won't be installed in my project. You won't see anything installed over here. I'm just trying to go into the project so I can run my weather-.js file. Yeah, that when you do a -G, it gets installed. There's a temporary file in your user folder somewhere. It will have a node_modules folder. It will get installed over there, and it will also add it in your path variable. It's getting too complicated, so that your terminal recognizes that file, that command. So for example, right now, if I run this inspect, let's say weather.js, you see it will say inspect doesn't exist, bash command is not there because it's not installed right now. So I have to install this before. Before that, my weather.js over here, right? It has a package.json. It's using all this stuff, so I can't even run this right now. So I will say doesn't exist. What do? I do npm install. I already have a package file, so that will install all my stuff. Let me see. So it will install these two things. Okay. So both of these are installed. Now I can go ahead and run this. Okay. So when I run this my file, I'm getting some error. Looks like there is some issue in my code. So this is a good point to show how to use a debugger. So let's go back to this one. This is a debugger called inspect process, and let's go ahead and install this first. Okay.
You install globally or locally?
Globally, yeah. So this one is going to be installed globally. Because I'm not going to use a require keyword to use that package. So I'm going to say npm install -G, and then what was the name? Inspect dash process. Okay. Enter. It will go ahead, install. Okay, now it is installed. Now, since it's a global, rule of thumb is I'm probably not going to use the require, and I'm not going to use the required over here. So now it should be working. Yeah. So now I should be able to do. Remember, I did an inspect and my file. It was giving me an error saying bash command doesn't exist and blah blah blah. So after this, when I do, it should work. Now before that, I want to go ahead and debug my code. So when you install this debugger, so what is happening is my code is failing somewhere, and so I want to put a debugger. What debugger will do is it will stop at some point, and it will let me see what are my values to figure out what's going on. Okay. So when I have that installed, the keyword is called debugger. Okay. And what this does is it's going to stop my code over here, and then where did my command prompt go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's look at the documentation. Make sure I'm doing good. Well, they had a nice video over here. Okay, debugger. Okay. Okay. So I put a debugger over here. What this code is doing is from the previous example. I called my geocode API, passing the address, but it's giving me some error. So let's see what I want to see what it is returning, like what's coming in the data, right? So I put a debugger over here. What it will do, it will stop my execution of the program at line number 20. Okay, I don't want it to go forward. So I say inspect and this thing. Okay. Go ahead and put this. So you see what happened? What it does is it didn't stop there. Yeah, or it did. Where's it? Oh, where did my window go? Okay, so debugger inspect.
Save it.
Oh, I didn't save it. Sorry. Oh, burn. Thank you.
I do it all the time.
Ah, that's better. What was that, Fernando?
That's why we turn on auto save.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you see what happened? It stopped the execution at some point. Wherever I put the debugger. Let me zoom this in so you can see what's going on. So this is my code. It opened it in Chrome, and it stopped wherever I put my debugger line. Right now, what I can do over here, I can hover over it. It will show me the values. So it says, okay, response code 403 seems like something I'm passing. My data is undefined. So this means I'm not getting anything back. Okay, so this tells me that there's some issue even before this line. See, this address is null. You go back here. I can see I haven't put in my API key. That could be one of the causes. Let me go and fix it. No laughing, guys. It can happen to anyone.
That is so true.
Yeah, come on. So let's go ahead and put our API key. Save. Let's run this. Okay, now let's look at our debugger. Okay. Oh, still undefined. Address. Oh, okay. See address. There's no address, so I'm not passing in any address. Let's say price. Okay, there's an error, no error, that's good. Oh, there it is in my data. I can like expand it, I can look at it. Okay, what's going on? Oh, I'm getting these values, and then I can, you know, keep. If I want to go to the next line, these are the options. Step over, goes to the next line. Okay, works fine. Data 0. Let me go back and see what's in my address. Oh, this object has all of these. Keep going. So this is the debugger tool that will help you when you are running into issues you can't figure out. And the global part was, since we installed it globally, you can see I'm using it as just as my Node.js command over here, inspect. Right. So this is what the global packages are for. Anything that you are going to use in your terminal as a command that has to be installed globally, and globally is -g. Anything that is being installed in your code that you're going to use a required keyword, that has to be installed locally with npm install package name. Okay, so this was a second example of the global package. The first is Node, of course. Inspect, there might be a few more, but you know, use inspect for your debugging needs. When you are working on your project, homework, you will definitely need this one. So install this globally and keep it over there. Make use of it. The only thing you have to do is just put a debugger keyword everywhere. This is technically called a breakpoint. You might have heard it or you will hear it. Breakpoint. What it means is my code is going to come and break over here. It will stop over here. That's why it's called a breakpoint. You'll hear this a lot. Breakpoint. All right. Any questions?
What was that called again?
Breakpoint.
No, the process debugger.
Inspect dash process. Let me make sure that's the right name here. Inspect dash process, yes. And they have a nice documentation and all the cool stuff over here. This seems like a very well maintained package. I haven't used this one, but Chrome has released something new for Node.js. I think Aaron, you're using this one. Are you using this one? Or you were talking about it?
Mine was actually the video.
Oh, you were yours. Okay. So Chrome also has a extension now, but I think it's in beta. It's in beta. It's not like official thing. I'll select this out. But take a look at this one. I think you can run this using the Chrome. I haven't tried it, but read the documentation, see if this is more better. But seems like Chrome comes built in with a node debugger. So, but this is one option, or you can try that one. All right. So, if not, then we have our last exercise. It's called zombie geocode, I think. Yeah. No, inquirer geocode. Sorry. This one. So do this with your neighbor. Try to do it as much as you can until 10 minutes. This is the last exercise of the day. I'll upload all the solutions after the class. So this is done. The next thing is the homework. Take a look at the homework. It's been uploaded to GitLab. Let me go back here quickly before you guys see. It's here. You have to create an app called Liri, which is a kind of like Siri. Okay. All right. So in this, you are using a Spotify API from the node. Let's go back and see. Look at a bunch of Spotify ones. You can take a look which one the homework is asking. Okay, where did it go? Oh, it already has a link over here. Okay, so you're going to use the Node Spotify API, then OMDB API. Moment also. .env. Okay. So you need to send requests to Bands in Town API, Spotify, and OMDB to retrieve the data. All right. So this is the homework for next Thursday. Take a look at it after the class. Work on this one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. I should have all the instruction. Go through it. If there are any questions, of course, Slack it and we can discuss that. But this is the homework. Do the exercise, and that is all for today. Saturday, I'll be teaching the class, and we'll be going back to a little bit of JavaScript advanced concepts. Not too advanced, but we'll look at just some of those in on Saturday. Saturday, yeah. So the next week is all about a little bit going back to JavaScript and Node.js. We're looking at that, some of the concepts that newer JavaScript has. Those are really important concepts to understand. but not to be used in JavaScript. But JavaScript has those now. It's kind of like the newer version of JavaScript that they are kind of introducing some of those concepts. But if you are a true JavaScript programmer, don't use those. But it's good to understand from the concept wise. Those are really important. JavaScript does it in a bad way, but there it is. Oh, for this one, yeah, looks like you need to use the Spotify one. They have like a detailed instructions at the bottom, but what was that? OMDB, Moment.js, everything. Request, .env, bands and towns. Right. So give it a try for the next exercise. And there's a challenge one also. I'll upload it on GitLab for your practice. I'll be here until 10. Let me know. Otherwise, that is all. We'll see you guys on Saturday otherwise. What? It doesn't work?
Yeah, neither of the debuggers work for that.
What?
This query library, because it's taking inputs during the execution.
Oh, it doesn't work with that particular one. Oh.
It actually crashes it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They kill terminal now.
Really? Oh.
It just includes good.
So there's a package crash going on over here.
Yeah, something about that. I mean, Visual Studio's debugger can't handle it.
Yeah.
And Spec can't handle it.
I know what they're using in the Inquirer that kind of crashes the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you can look into it and add to that Express article that you sent me that day. Add it over there. This is what's going on in the Inquirer package.
Yeah.
Probably stealing all the information, uploading to somewhere.
I want to debug this. Wait, she can't.
Yeah. Interesting.